in this presentation we're going to look at a statistics with R exercise. This is intended to introduce R to actuarial students, although it actually can be used for anybody who's beginning with statistics and R. Now importantly, this is statistics and R in combination, so essentially it's a combination of the both. So it's not just statistics, or it's not specifically statistics, and it's not specifically R. Okay, so it is based on the CS1B curriculum for the actuarial exams in UK and places around the world. And the focus of this syllabus is introduction to R programming, such as getting the hang of the fundamentals like creating objects and so forth, and also the fundamentals of running a statistical analysis on R, using R. This question would correspond to question 3 of a CS1B paper. Okay, so they get progressively harder. Okay, so what we have here is an agency has collected data on the number of COVID-19 cases for 2 cities in order to analyze the similarities and differences between them. Below is the data for 2 cities on a monthly basis. So we have 8 months, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we have the data for City A and City B, or City 1 or City 2, doesn't really matter, for each of the 8 months. Now, just for the sake of clarity, we're just going to take this as a very simple data set. It's not a time series data set or anything like that. So we're not expecting, in the context of this question, there's no increases or decreases. They're just like 2 samples, okay, taken over a month. Very simple way of looking at things, okay. So 8 months, and we have 2 samples there, City A, City B. What we can do there is, the first question actually asks us, enter them into R. Now I probably should have been consistent and call it City A and City B, but it's not a major point. So this is the assignment operator, and you notice it's pretty much the same in both cases. Here I enter the 8 values, okay, I combine them using this command C. That's concatenate, but you can sort of verbalize that as combine. Combine these 8 numbers into a single data set. Okay, and would then give it the name City 1. Likewise, we have City 2 there as well, which is also 8 values. They don't necessarily have to be both of equal length, but you know, just for the sake of simplicity. Well, it actually would be in the context of this question, obviously, but not in general. Okay. So the first question asks us, test at a 5% significance level, 5% level, with clearly mentioning the hypotheses, is there a difference in the means of the 2 sample datas assuming equal and unknown variances? That bit's important here, okay? That's an important line. There's a little hazard coming up there. So we'll just actually state the null and alternative hypotheses. There is no difference in the average number of monthly COVID-19 cases between the 2 cities. That's the null hypothesis H0. And the H1 is there is a difference in the average number of COVID-19 cases between the 2 cities. Okay. So what we're going to do here is enter this as a t-test. Okay, so we have our first sample here, x equals City 1. Our second sample here, x equals City 2. Now, here we're going to put in this argument here, var.equal equals true. This is to assert this assumption here in our analysis. Okay, if we don't have that, we're not making an assumption of equal and unknown variance necessarily. Now, we don't have to include this necessarily. Confidence level dot equals 0.95, but it's just for the sake of knowing it that you could change that to 99% or 99.9% if needs be. The only reason we pick 5% is it's a convention in undergraduate statistics teaching, just for the sake of simplicity, or just making one thing sort of reasonably consistent so that the students are not being bombarded with too much information. But probably that's an oversimplification, and probably you should be realize the fact that it's just an arbitrary choice. It's not a fixed constant at all. It's just a sort of convention just to make life easy when you're teaching. So this is the whole procedure altogether. This is just one long line of code. T-test, x, y, the 2 data sets, and the 2 arguments there, var.equal and confidence level. Just as a remark, we're testing at 5%, but when we test at 5%, what we're looking at is the p-value. So we don't actually have to specify this, okay, to be 0.95. So that's just as two separate matters there. It just so happens that 5% significance level would sort of typically correspond to a confidence level of 5% in pen and paper tests. But don't draw too much attention to that. So we run our procedure, and this is the output we get. Now, the name given to this test, or the headline, is two-sample t-test. And I'm going to come back to that shortly. So we have data with City 1 and City 2. That just names our two samples. Okay. There we have the test statistic. Okay. Degrees of freedom. Now, degrees of freedom equals 14. Well, that is the sample size for both data sets minus 1 for both data sets, so minus 2 altogether. So we have 8 plus 8 minus 2, or if you prefer, 8 minus 1 plus 8 minus 1. Okay, that gives us 14. The p-value is 0.7289. Okay, that's good. So that's what we will interpret. I'll just come back to that shortly. Now, just look at this. This is interesting here. Okay, the alternative hypothesis, the true difference in means is not equal to 0. Constructively, that means the null hypothesis is that the true difference of in means is equal to 0. Okay, so there's a correspondence here between the difference in means and that having some numerical value, okay, and no difference. Okay, so true difference in mean is equal to 0. Just forget that not for a second. And this is the null hypothesis. That is equivalent to there is no difference. Okay, it's a difference of means equals 0. This is just a difference expressed as numerical value, which when you're doing things from a mathematical point of view, it's easier to express things that way in terms of a number. Here the difference, the true difference is the number of what we are interested in. Just as a quick remark, true difference means population parameter. Okay, whereas down here we're dealing with the sample means. Just remember that. Okay. So 95% confidence interval, this is actually, we'll get asked later on, but we just remark it's minus 337.3886 and 241.8886. I really should highlight it there. Okay. Now, that's the first part. There's a lot going on there. Since the p-value is 0.7289 and it's significantly greater than 5%, 0.05, there is insufficient evidence to reject the null hypothesis H0. Thus, we have no evidence to suggest that the means are different between the samples. City 1, City 2, or City A, City B, I should say. There's nothing to say that one is better or worse than the other. Okay. Now, I just to sort of highlight what happens if you don't include that var.equal equals true. So it's omitted here. Okay. There's just three arguments here, x, y, and the confidence level. And actually, we don't have to specify that, but just I like you to remember that you can. Okay. Now, just notice the headline here. It's a different one. Welch two-sample t-test. So it's essentially it's two different tests. Okay, or two different procedures that just are, well, correctly, they're two different procedures with two different sets of assumptions. They're very similar to one another, obviously. Here we have the samples, City 1 and City 2, the test statistic. Okay, you notice we have a degree of freedom here. Not 14, it's 13.353. Now, to be honest with you, I have an idea where that is calculated from, but for undergraduate statistics, at the level you're probably at, well, you don't have to worry about it, but just notice that it's different, and really there's a lot of key differences here between this test and the last test, but they're very similar altogether all in all. The p-value is 0.7292. Okay, now apart from that, the numbers are slightly different, but overall the output there is very similar to the last, the main t-test that we were asked for specifically. So, part 3. Test whether the differences are equal at 5%. The variances are equal. Okay, now this is the population variances. This is what that assumption is about. Is the population variance for City 1, the population of values, is that equal or to the population variance for city 2 and so on. Comment on the results. Now the inputs are fairly much identical to what we have for the t-test previously. The command we're looking at here is var.test. Okay, now this creates what they call an f-test to compare two variances. Just as a quick remark on this, you're going to see f-tests come up a lot. F is the name of a probability distribution with two parameters, and this probability distribution is used as the basis for multiple hypothesis tests. So you will see f-tests pop up here and there quite a lot in statistics if you continue on with it. For example, analysis of variance and so on. So it's not a name for one specific test. It's like a family of tests that all sort of use the same fundamental idea of the F probability distribution. So it's not specifically for variance, the F test. Okay, an F test. Although this is specifically for variance. Okay. Anyway, sample 1 and sample 2, city 1 and city 2. That's our test statistic there, and I'm going to talk about what that test statistic is shortly. So we have the degrees of freedom, and again it's n-1 for both of the samples. Okay, 8-1 and 8-1. Okay, I think the first one, if you have different sample sizes, this corresponds to city 1 and this corresponds to city 2. Okay, now the p-value is 0.5691. Okay, so in that case we're going to reject the fail to reject the null hypothesis and so on. I'll come back to that shortly. This is interesting here, this part here. The true ratio of variances is not equal to 1. That's the alternative hypothesis. Constructively, that means that the null hypothesis is that the true ratio of variances is equal to 1. Now, the idea here is that if two numerical values or numerical parameter values are the same, that means if we divide one by the other, they should equal 1 or have a value very close to 1. Okay? So that's the idea, that if there's no difference in the variances, that means the ratio of the variances will equal to 1 if you divide one by the other. Okay? If A is equal to B, that means A divided by B should equal 1. Is equal to 1, actually, I should say. Okay, so again, we're expressing our parameter values in terms of, or the parameter of interest, the parameters of interest actually. We're sort of transforming our understanding of them into something that we can express as a single number. Okay, that just makes life easier when you're working with these calculations. Okay, so if they are equal to each other, the ratio is 1, and if they're not equal to each other, the ratio is not equal to 1. Okay, so here's a confidence interval at a 95% level for the ratio of the variances. 0.1279433 and 3.1920724. Okay. Now just take a look at that. That seems like a very wide ratio. Okay, or the numbers there are sort of, is that right? You're sort of thinking. Now just remember, the variance is the square of the standard deviation. Okay. Now the standard deviation is denoted in the same units as the raw measurements. The variance will be denoted in squaring by the square of the units of the raw measurements. Okay. So if you're dealing with kilometers as a data set, for example, the variance will be square kilometers. Okay. So just remember that to rationalize it, to include that in your rationalization. Okay, so the ratio of the variances there is 0.6390651. Now just remember, what would that mean? You don't have to do this, but the ratio of the standard deviations will probably be 0.8 or something like that, or very close to 0.8. When you're dealing with a data set that's that small, is that close to 1? It might be. Okay, so 0.8 is the ratio of the standard deviations. Okay. Anyway, how do we interpret this? Is 1 in that range of values? Is it between the upper and lower bound of that interval? If it is, we would assume that they have we can assume that their equal variances are more precisely, we've no evidence to say that they don't have equal variance. Okay. The p-value is 0.5691, which is greater than 5%, so there is insufficient evidence to reject the null hypothesis reject the assumption of equal variance. Now, the part 4. So, calculate the 95% confidence interval for the difference in means. Now, that can be read directly from part 2, okay, or it can be derived as follows. So, essentially, let's go back to part 2 there very quickly. There we have it there. Essentially, what we just have to do is read that out. That's it. It's a short one. What we could do there is run that line of code again, and we can extract the part of that output that is specifically confidence intervals by just putting the $sign there. That just means taking out a particular named component, in this case conf.int, okay, and that just returns that output. So it just expresses the 95% confidence interval derived from that procedure, that's our procedure for that test, okay, and it also confirms that it is 95% confidence interval. Okay, so that's all of that there. Okay, comment on your findings in part 2 and part 4. The confidence interval is essentially minus 337 to 241. 0 is in the range of values, so in that case what we would do is assume that make the assumption that the equal means holds. Okay, there's no difference to say that one is better or worse than the other, which coincides with our interpretation of the p-value. Right, that is that. So that is the question 3 from this particular paper. Okay.